Thank you. Thank you. This is iPhone 10. It is the biggest leap forward since the original iPhone.
What's up, guys? Emmanuel here, and today we're going back to 2017, the year Apple made its boldest leap in iPhone history. The phone that killed the home button, introduced Face ID, and set the design blueprint for every iPhone that followed. Would you believe that people lined up overnight for this phone? Yep, I'm talking about the iPhone X. Fast forward to 2025, and the iPhone X is now almost 8 years old. But here's the big question. Does it still have a place today? And could you actually use it as your daily driver? Or is it just a piece of nostalgia now? Let's find out. The iPhone X wasn't just another upgrade. It was Apple's 10th anniversary iPhone, and it completely changed the game. Instead of the classic bezels and Touch ID, Apple went with a nearly all-screen design, a stainless steel frame, OLED display, and Face ID. Interestingly, Apple even skipped the iPhone 9 to jump straight to X, as in Roman numeral 10, because they wanted to signal a new era. And honestly, they weren't wrong, because the design DNA of the iPhone X is still here today in the iPhone 16 series. So when you hold an iPhone X in 2025, it doesn't feel ancient. It actually still looks modern, and that's wild for an 8-year-old phone. Holding the iPhone X today is honestly kind of refreshing. The stainless steel frame, the glass back, this thing still screams premium. It's only 5.8 inches, which makes it tiny by today's standards, but that's actually a selling point. People who want a compact flagship will love how pocketable this is compared to massive phones like the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Durability though? Well, it's a mixed bag. The iPhone X didn't have ceramic shield like modern iPhones, so drops can be brutal, and the stainless steel frame, while shiny, picks up scratches easily. But with a good case, it still feels solid and classy. One uncommon fact also is that the iPhone X was one of the last iPhones that came with a fast 5 watts charger in the box, which feels laughable now in 2025 when we have MagSafe and faster wired charging. This was Apple's first OLED panel on an iPhone, and it was a big deal back then. A 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED, HDR10, and Dolby Vision support. And you know what? Even in 2025, it looks fantastic. Deep blacks, vibrant colors, way better than LCDs from that era, but it's stuck at 60 Hz. Once you've used ProMotion on the iPhone 13 and up, going back feels almost laggy. Scrolling Twitter or TikTok just doesn't hit the same. Still, if you've never been spoiled by 120 Hz, the display actually holds up surprisingly well. Brightness also holds up surprisingly well outdoors, though it can't match the insane peak brightness of today's iPhone Pro models. Now, let's talk about speed. The iPhone X shipped with Apple's A11 Bionic chip, and in 2017 it was cutting edge. But 8 years later, yeah, it's starting to show its age. Everyday stuff like WhatsApp, browsing, even YouTube still work fine, but heavier apps, gaming, and multitasking can feel choppy. Fortnite, Call of Duty Mobile, not really smooth anymore. And because it only has 3 GB of RAM, background apps reload constantly. On the bright side, iOS optimization keeps it running better than you'd expect for such an old device. Apple really stretched the lifespan here. Here's where things get tricky. The iPhone X launched with iOS 11, and Apple supported it up through iOS 16. That means no iOS 17, 18, or 26, which we're on in 2025, so you're stuck on older software now. That means fewer security updates, missing out on new features, and some apps slowly dropping support. Basically, it's fine for light use, but I wouldn't trust it as my main banking or work phone anymore. Fun tip, some users jailbreak the iPhone X to squeeze more life out of it, but that's really for enthusiasts only. On the camera side, the iPhone X comes with dual 12 megapixels cameras, a wide and a telephoto, both with OIS. Back in 2017, this setup was among the very best you could get on a smartphone. But here in 2025, yeah, it definitely shows its age. Daytime shots are still decent, with Apple's natural colors holding up. Low light, though, is where it really struggles. Photos come out grainy and soft, especially compared to today's iPhones with night mode and deep fusion. Video, on the other hand, still holds its ground surprisingly well. You get 4K at 60 FPS, and Apple's trademark stabilization makes clips look solid even today, proof of how far ahead Apple was in video. The selfie camera is just 7 megapixels, and honestly, it feels rough by today's standards. It's fine for FaceTime calls, but nowhere near what we expect in 2025. This is probably the iPhone X's biggest weakness, It's rocking a 2,716 milliamp hours battery, which was barely okay back in 2017. More so now in 2025, most units definitely have heavy battery wear, unless they've already been swapped out. Honestly, a lot of iPhone X's barely make it through half a day of regular use. Charging doesn't really save it either. You can get up to 15 watts wired if you use a better adapter, but that's nowhere near what modern phones do today. And wireless charging tops out at 7.5 watts. No MagSafe here. So yeah, if you're thinking about daily driving an iPhone X in 2025, just plan on budgeting for a battery replacement. Plus, you gotta hold a power bank at hand. Face ID actually made its debut on the iPhone X, and even though this is first gen, it still works surprisingly well. Honestly, it's faster than a lot of Android face unlocks even today. But there's no fingerprint sensor here, so if you're a Touch ID fan, this is where Apple left you behind. Storage-wise, you only get 64 gigabytes or 256 gigabytes. And in 2025, 64 gigabytes feels tiny. Sure, iCloud can help, but if you're a heavy user, you'll run into space issues fast. So what's it like actually using the iPhone X right now? For light stuff, texting, calls, browsing, Spotify, maybe Netflix, it still does the job. The compact size feels refreshing, the OLED screen still looks good, and Face ID is reliable. But once you push it, whether that's modern gaming, heavier apps, battery demands, or camera tricks, the cracks start to show. At this point, it's really more of a backup phone, a minimalist choice, or even a collector's item. So is the iPhone X worth buying in 2025? Honestly, for most people, no. It's just too old, the software's outdated, and the battery doesn't hold up. But as a piece of Apple history, it's priceless. This was the phone that reshaped the iPhone forever, and even 8 years later, the design still feels modern. If you find one cheap and in good shape, it could be a fun secondary phone or a nostalgia piece. But if you need a main phone in 2025, you're much better off with something like an iPhone 13 or 14 that still feels current and gets updates. The iPhone X walked, so the iPhone 16 could run. And for that, it'll always be iconic. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to Emacom's Phone World for more tech reviews and comparisons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is iPhone 10. It is the biggest leap forward since the original iPhone.